Did you see today on the news that Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of USDA, announced $1 billion to help combat the spread of the highly pathogenic avian flu? That is great news. It sucks that the government has that's our tax dollars, but it's being split up. Some of it's for biosecurity. Some of it is for vaccine research and therapeutic research. And then some of it is being used to help financially the farmers impacted by this. And hopefully, nothing against like Tyson. I mean, I'm not going to carry water for Tyson or Purdue or whoever, but they're contract farmers. I hope they're getting compensated, and I hope like the small guys that might not have a contract, that might be supporting a local market, are also being compensated if they're impacted by it. I just wanted to kind of give an update on that because not everybody sees it. Uh, I do a lot of research. I have a lot of downtime in the wintertime. And so I talk to a lot of farmers, and agriculture is my jam. I love anything ag, organic, conventional, green tractors, red tractors. I love it all. I mean, it's my thing. I just love it. That being said, I'm super super disappointed in what I've been seeing in social media lately around like farmers, food, around the bird flu. You know, and something came like kind of stuck out to me today. There's a farm I used to follow. I stopped following them just because they really got, like, in my mind, like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, they were like weird. They were weirdly obsessive about certain things, and they're like a homestead. That being said, I follow a ton of homesteads. I follow a ton of holistic growers. I absolutely love them. I'm fascinated by what they do. I buy from some of them. So this isn't painting a picture on them. It's just this particular farm that there seems to be maybe a little bit of trending upward around this. Um, and they actually were talking about how their birds aren't affected because they're organic and pastured and all that stuff. Well, that's not true. The other thing that really bothered me is that I've seen these guys like rail against vegans and like rail against animal rights activists, which I do too. But I mean, they like really, just punch down on them as hard as they can. And I get it. They farm, and those folks say bad things about what they do. That being said, today they shared a picture of a commercial chicken house ran by a family farm that had to depopulate. And it's an awful picture. I mean, you can imagine it's awful. Uh, anytime these guys have to depopulate their flocks, it's got to be hard on them. And despite the claim that they're making money by depopulating, they're actually like losing 25% of their revenue. But at least it's not 100% of their revenue, and that's what was told to me by a, a, a poultry producer. I can't confirm that 100%. They might only be getting half, and Tyson or Purdue or whoever gets the other half. I don't know. That being said, they used imagery that those same animal rights folks and the folks that they don't like, that's what they do. That's how they turn people off, or try to turn people off, by taking something out of context and then showing it to the public. They're doing the same thing, except they're not doing it because they have an ideology. They're doing it to sell their products. They're trying to scare people and saying, well, if you like chicken, you better not buy from them. You better buy from us because we're, X, Y, and Z. Our chickens are always outside, or, whatever. They don't take into account that, number one, they're serving a niche market, which is good. And that's why I like a lot of the holistic and small pasture raised places, because they are serving a growing niche that people want to support. And I'll always support that. The thing I don't like is this particular farm is using fear to spread that information. And they're also living in an echo chamber. They don't realize there's 330 million people in the United States. I work in hunger advocacy. I work in making sure that logistically there's food where it needs to be. I can tell you, when we had our grocery store in inner city Indianapolis, I watched a young woman load up her cart with like four things of organic. I forget the brand, but it was organic macaroni and cheese because she couldn't afford the organic produce that was in our store, which we didn't grow, by the way. We purchased from a local farmer, but she couldn't afford it. The organic produce or the conventional produce, however, that was mine. And I was able to talk to her for a minute and explain to her how I grow and how we do things, and that she didn't have to sacrifice buying organic macaroni and cheese, which is still a processed food, and they're, not as good as a whole fruits or vegetables. She, after speaking to me, she felt good about buying the conventional because she should. I mean, there's really no difference. That being, and other than if you prefer it to be organic, then good for you. That's how you should buy it. But she had been kind of led down this path that if it's not organic, it's bad. And, she had a conversation with the actual farmer who grew it, and that changed her mind. That's where food bullying and like shaming people about, not being able to buy a $15 or $20 chicken. That's where it gets you. She's going and buying cheap processed food because she can't afford that, but she could afford the conventional chicken, but she's been told it's bad. I've seen that multiple times. Some people don't believe me. It happens. During this avian flu, the fact that there's some, and I think it's a small number, but there's some of these farmers taking advantage of, just devastating, a devastating epidemic that is affecting consumers at the grocery store. It's affecting farmers, and they're taking advantage of it as a way to try to market their product. I think that's disgusting. I would never buy anything from somebody that does that. And there's plenty of holistic farms out there that don't do that. They don't run down other farmers. I guess the message I'm trying to get to you guys is during this, you see people are very polarized, and it's not a good thing. That same farm shared a thing from Joel Salatin, and if you follow my page, you guys know how I feel about Joel Salatin. Can never take away the fact that he's introduced literally thousands of people to agriculture. That's something that I very much appreciate him for that. His other stuff, though, it is what it is. But he lives around sound bites, or at least, his fans make sure he lives through sound bites. And one of the sound bites that he shared was, and this farm's perpetuating that, is basic animal husbandry, like 101, is just to take the sick chickens, the ones that didn't die, and breed them. That's basic animal husbandry. He's right to a certain extent. But again, that's a soundbite that's way out of context. Highly pathogenic avian flu is killing 90 to 100% of the flock. That's where the mortality rates are. So if you have chickens that live, you're going to have a very, very, very small genetic pool to select from. And that's, in biology, that's called genetic bottlenecking. That's not great. While multiple generations you're trying to pass the resistant strain along, through the generations, you might also be passing really bad genetics. The good news is there's actually people that are doing this. Very biosecure facility, but they're trying to breed the chickens that survive based on certain genetic markers to make a resistant strain. That's how I feel about this whole thing. If you don't like the vaccines, or you don't, I definitely don't like the culling of birds. I understand why a house is culled. I'm still kind of at a loss of why they're culling from, up to 7 miles away. That being said, I think we need to have everything on the table, all of the above approach, because again, this is affecting consumers. This is affecting, multiple folks and farmers, and we just need to try to come together. And we definitely don't need farmers running down other farmers. I mean, that's not necessary. That's just it drives me nuts. Ag is a big tent. We can all fit and live inside of it, and we can all celebrate each other for our strengths and our weakness. For our strengths, and we can talk to each other about our weaknesses. Maybe I might learn something from this, from a guy that's doing it a certain way. Maybe they might learn from me. Um, but definitely, bad mouthing him or him bad mouthing me or bad mouthing a contract poultry farmer. That's not the way we're going to bring people together. And food should always be about bringing folks together. See you guys.